That's the book that I'm reading these days. That's a cafe in the middle of the desert. And this is me going there. On my mental health day off. But before we get to this point, here's what happened last week. I had some projects that I had to finish, and then I had to study for my university degree, which has become very intense. So I filled my whole weekend with tasks and homework, and I was doing everything I could to get them done quickly, so that I could do more work afterwards. And as you can imagine, after the weekend was over, I was already exhausted, and the new week had just begun. For the rest of the week, I felt agitated and irritable. I had to admit that I was feeling under the weather, so I decided to take a mental health day off. For many of us, these daily commitments can become really stressful. I have felt that time and time again, between work, studying for my degree, socializing, YouTube, and dealing with admin tasks. It's hard to stay and feel healthy. This lifestyle can easily become a habit, and before you even realize it, burnout is taking over. In today's video, we'll talk about burnout and how a dedicated mental health day off can help you. I'll guide you through my mental health day off so you can have an idea on how to structure your day off and how to reap those sweet benefits of a nice mental health day off. So what's the big deal about mental health days? Trying to stay productive every single day is challenging, and in the long run will definitely have an impact on your mental health. So just for 5 minutes, forget this hustle culture, because there's a lot of wisdom in slowing down every once in a while, and the benefits of doing nothing can be huge. A mental health day away from work or away from school can help you relax. It can help you recharge. It can help you take better care of yourself, discovering new things about yourself, and ultimately become more productive. As Lao Tzu put it, search your heart and see. The way to do is to be. And yes, sure, you can use it to get out of work or to get out of school, but there's so much more in this special day. The key is to make it intentional, that this day will be dedicated to activities around your mental health and your well-being, and is not just another day off. Have you ever been in a situation where your brain just stops working? You might have noticed that sometimes your thoughts get stuck on one topic and won't let go until something else distracts you. That's because your brain has run out of energy. When this happens, we tend to react by trying harder. We start thinking about everything else we have to do, worrying about all the mistakes we made yesterday, or thinking about what our manager said earlier today. And that makes things worse. It becomes a vicious cycle. The more stressed we are and the harder we try, the worse our brains get at processing information correctly, which makes us even more stressed. As a result of this whole process, you might begin experiencing something called burnout. You have probably heard about burnout before. Burnout is something that happens to all of us from time to time, but it is essential not just to know that burnout exists. It's also vital that you understand what it means, why it happens, and how you can avoid it. Burnout is a work-related phenomenon which is characterized by low energy, negative thoughts and feelings about your work, your school, and low productivity. Burnout can come from working too hard, but it can also come from being exposed to stressful situations at work. For example, when you are working in an environment where there's a lack of support or unrealistic expectations about what you should be able to accomplish. So the next question would be, what happens when you are burned out? Hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, and epinephrine rise when we deal with stressful situations. These hormones are really helpful for short-term bursts, for example, when you have to deal with something that needs your immediate attention. But being in a state of releasing these hormones for a prolonged period of time is detrimental for your mind and your body. People who are burned out, especially repeatedly, are more prone to suffer from health issues like heart conditions and diabetes. They also have a higher mortality rate than the average population. And the dangers of burnout are not just physical, they're also mental and emotional. Burnout is dangerous because it can lead to anxiety or depression if we leave it without treatment. When you're burned out, it's easy to lose perspective on what really matters in life and what doesn't matter at all. You may feel like everything is pointless because nothing seems important anymore. There are no longer any rewards for doing well at work or school because everything just feels so exhausting all the time. So then the question becomes what to do when you need a mental health day away from school or work. If you're like most people, your first impulse would be to push through the day. Maybe you'll get some coffee or you'll eat something sweet to boost you. You'll then try to power through the day somehow and hope for the best. But how long does that last? What if your mental state is so bad that it worsens just because you're trying to hold yourself together? And if you push yourself too much for a prolonged period of time, then you might suffer a mental health crisis. The cost of pushing through those bad days is way higher than a day off to allow yourself to relax and be mindful. So let me walk you through the steps I'm taking during those mental health days off. The first step is to prepare yourself and set the mood for the day. The idea here is to mentally and emotionally check out for a period of time, free from all obligations. The point here is to do something that disconnects you from all responsibilities, something that removes you from your day-to-day environment for at least a few hours. So the first thing that I felt necessary to do is put all my work or school stuff far, far away. The further the better, ideally out of your sight. That way I do not associate everything else I'm doing with work or school, and I'm setting the scene for a different kind of day. I treated myself to a nice breakfast, took a shower, a long one this time, and got dressed in something that made me feel good and comfortable. I turned some music on and hummed the tune in my head before getting ready. The second step is to decide on an activity. Remember, a mental health day off means doing anything that helps you relieve tension. For me, it was riding my bike and reading a book. I wanted to start reading books that are not related to psychology, fiction books or books that can take my mind away and help me travel to unknown worlds. Today I'll be traveling to Arrakis, the planet of the House of Atreides in the book Dune. So the action of the book takes place in a very unfriendly planet full of sand and deserts, and it's kind of funny when I'm reading this book in the middle of the desert. The next step is to choose a location of where you will spend your mental health day off. Location is key when you think of your day off. It can be somewhere you've never been before, that's far away from your home, like a new cafe or a park that you haven't visited. It can also be as simple as going out for lunch or coffee together with a friend, or it could be an entire day trip somewhere fun like an amusement park. As I mentioned before, the activity I chose was riding my motorbike and reading. But I decided to make it a bit more exciting and choose a different reading spot. I found this cafe in the middle of the desert and I thought to try it out. Taking a day off is great, but it can also feel weird. You know what I mean, when you're so used to working and learning all the time, when you take a day off or even just a few hours off, you don't know what to do with yourself. One thing that I've experienced the most is guilt. I know some of you can relate to this. If you are so used to doing something all the time, working, learning, when you stop doing it all of a sudden, you don't always know how to approach this new thing. You might feel negative emotions about taking time away from work, school, or whatever you're used to doing all day long. You might feel like you're just sitting around doing nothing. And that's okay, that is totally normal, and that is exactly the point. To feel okay for doing nothing and just be. Another thing that you'll find yourself struggling with is focusing your thoughts on one activity and on the present. Your mind will probably wander a lot more than usual. I found myself thinking about every little thing imaginable. It seemed almost as if my brain didn't want to relax. If this happens to you, just allow it to be, allow it to happen without judging yourself. You've been working hard and now your brain needs time to digest all of that information and just chill out. And whatever happens, no matter how many tasks, deadlines and homework are scrolling through your mind, just remember, don't pick up your phone or your laptop. And resisting also social media would be an amazing thing to do. The last thing you want to do is spend your whole day scrolling and then feel that you didn't use your mental health day properly. Remember, I mentioned that you might have some negative thoughts about taking a day off. Think about why you feel guilty for taking time for yourself. Who are you really trying to amaze with your dedication to work? Are there things in your life that make you feel that taking time for yourself is difficult? If so, what changes can you make so that taking time for yourself doesn't feel as stressful? So if there's one thing to remember from this video, then this is it. Figure out who you are outside of work or school. Work is such a big part of our identity that it's hard to separate ourselves from it. If you're the kind of person who defines yourself based on your job, on your success, on your achievements, or other activities, it may even feel impossible. It can be easy to tie your self-esteem to these things, but we humans can benefit more from self-acceptance and a life full of meaning. And I think that a life full of meaning involves more than work, although work that gives you purpose is also important. But seeing ourselves independent from these things can help us nurture other aspects of our lives more organically, like our relationships, for example. A day away from work or school every once in a while shouldn't be controversial. You shouldn't have to be shameful to take time and just be, to just do nothing, to just exist for a while and let that be enough. So why not take a chance and give yourself some space whenever you feel like you need it? After all, you are the only one that can give yourself a break. If you like this video, then hit subscribe and follow me as I share more videos like this. You can also tell me about your own experience with taking a day off in the comment section below. I'm Dimitris and thanks for watching.